school where they train people who qualify, who can get driving licenses. Madam Speaker, I've seen policemen failing to get driving licenses when they are tested by the UN when they are going for peacekeeping. They fail getting driving permits because they don't know how to drive. And when you drive on these roads, you find a lot of mess. It's because people don't know how to drive. And these licenses are just issued. People pay money and they get licenses. And that's why we lose a lot of people on the streets, on the roads of Uganda. Therefore, Madam Minister, we want the government to come up with a training institution where people are going to know the road signage, the regulations on the roads, and those who will know how to drive are the ones who are going to be given licenses. And when we do that, we are going to save our people. But every time you hear police issuing the records of licenses at the end of every year, because people don't know how to drive. And secondly, international licenses are given for years. I got my driving license from abroad. It goes on until 2025, and I've had it for over 25 years. And when you issue an international license, you must be able to drive in those other countries and know the traffic laws. And that's why we're asking you, Madam, that government must come up with the school, as the Speaker has just said, train people properly. And then you can be proud when you drive in other countries, and you're not going to cause accidents in those countries. I thank you, Madam Minister.
As the Chair of Infrastructure comes, I know, Minister, this license is for 5 years. When the 5 years expire, do I come back to be tested again? Do I get a new license automatically? What happens? What's the magic about the 5 years? Yes, infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. In light of what was mentioned by the Leader of Opposition, when you look at the categorization of driving licenses, even Boda riders are taken care of. However, according to our observation, the major challenge is there is no clear mechanism of comparing these Boda riders to be trained before they hit the road. Someone goes back home, sells a Shivanja, some piece of land, buys a Boda, the next morning he's on the road, not even tested for proper riding. So, until the ministry comes up with clear mechanism of comparing the Boda riders to be trained before they begin riding on public roads, that challenge will remain there. The minister also talked about construction of a one-stop center in her statement. Right Honourable Speaker, indeed government at the beginning of this financial year came to the committee with a promissory note saying that as we phase out First Technology, a private company, we want government to take over issuance of driving permits. Well, government is taking over, but in my opinion, it is still more or less a private company taking over. But as if that is not enough, government also told us that they wanted to construct a government building, a one-stop center for issuance of driving permits and also registration of vehicles, new vehicles and transfers of old vehicles. This very parliament appropriated funds for construction of that building in billions. Madam Speaker, during our engagement with the ministry, trying to find out how they have performed this financial year with the money we gave them, we realized that not even a foundation of that building has been laid anywhere in Uganda. According to the PS, they wanted to do it at the ministry headquarters. Now I don't know for what reason, because he didn't give it to us. they decided to go to the Uganda Railway Corporation land. Even the circumstances for the shifting is not proper. As a committee, Madam Speaker, we have decided to arrange an oversight visit to the Ministry of Works and the proposed new venue or location of the building on the 15th of next month to ascertain whether indeed these plans for construction of a one-stop center building is still ongoing. So thereafter, we shall update the House on our findings. I beg to submit.
Okay. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just fail to understand how government operates. Good enough, I've been in this committee for almost the last 15 years. When First Technologies was procured, it was initially for the 5 years, and it would pass back to Ministry of Works. 5 years elapsed, they extended another 5 years. Last year, in the agreement, this was supposed to reverse fully to the Ministry of Works. But it's surprising that government is now telling us about a joint venture. Madam Speaker, First Technologies was renting. Now, we had been told earlier on that we needed capacity building. And indeed, capacity had been built. So this was supposed to be passed over now to government after about 12, 15 years. What is this new company bringing? Because the capacity had been built, the technology is there, the software is there, our Ugandans have been trained. They were supposed now just to pass to the Ministry of Works. What is this the USP German company is going to bring? Because even now, the housing is the government of Uganda that's providing, Uganda Railways Corporation. What happens now to protect the issues of the standard gauge if we are now grabbing part of theirs? Earlier on, we had proposed in the committee, and the chairman knows very well, that the Ministry of Work structures just opposed First Technologies, where First Technologies now. There's a facility of Ministry of Works. That's where it was supposed to be moved to. We are surprised that today it has been moved to Uganda Railways structures here. So these are the things that needs to be cleared, Madam Speaker, and if I had known earlier, I would have grown, because I have the two agreements with the First Technologies on what was supposed to have been done. It was not supposed to be given again to another private company. This company called Veridos, I want you people to search it and get to know who are the people behind it. And take it from me, come Monday 1st, there's going to be a scaffold. They are telling us here there's a company that's going to help us with the passport. You saw the scaffold, which was in immigration, this week. We are going to get back to the times when we were having forged IDs, delays, you take a month, 2 months to get the driving permits. So I think now that Chairperson, we are saying this, I wish you had led us early to go and see these things before even they start, because now we are going to do more of a post-mortem. You are going to URC, you'll find it's not there, what will you do? So, but nonetheless, we shall go there and see what is on the ground. But I wanted just to bring that to the attention of the members, that we are yet set to another big problems regarding the issues of the driving permits and other documents, because of the way, because if we even ask, how was this company procured? It's surrounded with so many things. If we had time, we would unearth all this. If the minister here can tell us, when did they advertise? How many companies bidded? Let her tell us here and disprove us. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Now, before I invite the minister, I think we would like to know, how long is this company going to occupy the premises of Uganda Railways? Because I saw this country is interested in a vibrant railway system, but now if the headquarters is being borrowed, for how long? Where will the trains go? Where do you want to go for the stations? Minister.
Thank you, honorable members. In this new project, licenses will be issued to bodas. Bodas who are riding without licenses will be no more. The First Technology is still issuing permits, and those who have paid will still get their licenses. And those who have licenses of First Technology, they will work and continue to be valid until the date of their validity. The licenses were introduced by the new act which we passed here. So whatever we are doing now, we are following the act that we passed here. We are the ones who passed the 5 years driving license. We passed everything that we are doing now. We are following the new act. Honorable Biandara, we did not take all the First Technology people, but we really have to admit that First Technology had very good people, and they knew what they were doing. So most of them passed the recruitment test. So the ones we took, we recruited, we tested, and we found they were good, so we took them. Don't worry about queuing up. The new system will give you your permits in 1 hour or less, depending on what you present. The leadership of the ministry will make sure new stations are set up, and we also actually have a mobile vehicle that will also do the testing and giving of permits. We are also going to intensify the riders and drivers testing. We are also going to strengthen regulation and quality of driving schools. The people who have paid, as I said, who have paid First Technology, will pick their permits from the new USPC offices at railways. Regarding the quality of drivers, we are going to strengthen the quality of driving schools. The ministry is also exploring means of setting up schools to train our drivers. There was a question by the Right Honorable Speaker about the renewal of driving licenses. The law which we passed stops us from testing afresh once you have your driving license. And it's what we are following. Before issuing a permit, an applicant must be tested by police. And police is responsible for testing the drivers. The inspector of vehicles, they are the ones really who are going to be testing the drivers. Regarding the building, the one center for transport testing and for licensing, this building, the designs have been done, they are complete. We have procured a contractor, and we hope all approvals being given, this new building will soon be up. The Uganda Security Printing Company is a public company. The government of Uganda, represented by the Office of the President and the Ministry of Finance, are the majority shareholders in this company. So the Uganda Security Publishing Company is a Ugandan company owned by Uganda government. I thank you.
Okay, item 4. Item 4. Item 4.
Item 4, Bill's second reading.
Clarification, Speaker.
The Constitution Amendment Bill 2019.
Clarification, Speaker. Clarification. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg your indulgence, but the Minister has finished the submission. Right, Honorable Speaker, a lot of concern has been raised concerning accidents caused by bodas. But the Minister is saying the driving schools will be improved where? And I mean, she is not answering the specific concerns that the members have raised. And right, Honorable Speaker, I want to know, after Phase company developed this system, what is the role of this German? And we are just going to approve this document without understanding what is the role, what is the technical skill which the German company is bringing on board. I want to know, because if the Phase have already trained our people, and right, Honorable Speaker is here, if I've read it correctly, that 98% of the staff will be local. So it means a big proportion of the staff are already trained and they know what to do, and only 2% is supposed to be technical. So are you going to tell me that you need a whole German joint venture in order to fill the gap of 2%? So, right, Honorable Speaker, we need to understand this. I feel there's something wrong about this document. For me, I would want it to be recorded that I don't agree with this submission. There are so many porous areas that have not been clarified. And therefore, I feel that this document be looked into. We need to set up a committee to dig further into how the joint venture came to be and how the government is going to set schools to train drivers. And you have here said the valid licenses will continue until they expire. Now, if the reckless drivers already got licenses, how are you going to improve them? So, right, Honorable Speaker, this document is porous and needs to be policed, and as a parliament, as an institution, we are not going to pass a document where we have seen a lot of defects. I beg to submit.
Now, honourable members, this came in response to a question raised on the floor of this House about the transition from First Technology to the Uganda government. That's why this paper came. It's not even for us to adopt, it is information for us. But the Chair of Infrastructure says they are conducting an oversight visit, and they're going to file a report here. I hope that the Chair, he's here, he has heard the issues the members are not happy with. We hope that you touch them and report to us when you come back, and please do it quickly. Yes, Honorable Chair of Infrastructure.
Right, Honorable Speaker, indeed, there are so many porous areas that need to be touched up, and I'm sure the Minister will agree with me that even at committee level, we were not satisfied. I therefore undertake, for and on behalf of this august House, to bring back a comprehensive report after our oversight visit so that we can take it up from there. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. We go back to item 4.
Item 4, Bill's second reading, the Constitution Amendment Bill 2019.
Honourable members, yesterday when we adjourned, I had the following members on the list: the Honourable Angelina Osege, the Honourable Nambeshe, the Honourable Centenary, the Honourable Duru. Those were the ones who had indicated. So we were on this side yesterday. So you start. Angeline Nambeshe Centenary Odur. Let's start with those first, because they had indicated yesterday they wanted to speak.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want and probably request from the onset that you allow at least more than 2 minutes. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to make a comment on a few issues concerning the report. The first one being the proposal to have the Parliamentary Commission interview the Clerk to Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, we remember as a Parliament, in this Parliament, I think, for lack of a better word, we mortgaged our rights as a House and as the legislature concerning the election or the appointment of the commissioners of this House. If we are going to restore the authority of this House, then probably we might also have to change the way we appoint commissioners to this House, so as to fulfill this aspiration that is expressed in the bill. Madam Speaker, my second issue and comment is on the proposal to get the office of the RDC out of the system. Yesterday, as I sat here and listened to colleagues, many expressed the thought of saying that the office of the RDC has only changed names, but has been in existence through many regimes. Right Honorable Speaker, if you have been in this country and following things that happen in offices of government, you notice that there is a lot of conflict of interest, there is a lot of duplication of services. The proposal to remove the office of the RDC, I think, is in good faith. If we are to look at reducing public expenditure and also to look at efficiency in terms of public offices. Right Honorable Speaker, in my opinion, the office of the RDC is killing the responsibility of the district police commanders. Because when you are in the districts, the RDC seems to be more authoritative.
Please.
The RDC seems to have more authority than the district police commanders. So if we are to build and strengthen institutions of government, I think we need to reduce duplication of services, and therefore I support the removal of the office of the RDC. Right Honorable Speaker, I would also like to make a comment on the appointment of ministers from within members of Parliament. Yes, there was an argument that it needs someone just to apportion their time correctly. But Madam Speaker, I think the principle here is about separation of powers, and it is about the independence of the institutions and the different arms of governance. We notice that whenever we have an issue on the floor of this House, there are people who have conflict of interest. They may know what is correct and what is right for this country, but because of their position, they cannot express themselves. And therefore we lose out on good judgment, objectivity, because people have conflict in terms of execution of their duties, both as a minister and as a member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, there is a belief that it will increase expenditure. Right Honorable Speaker, I think we have the prerogative to recommend to government to reduce the size of cabinet. And therefore we go back to the 21 ministers as recommended by the Constitution of this country. Right Honorable Speaker, I would support that position for purposes of efficiency, for purposes of separation of powers and independence of officials. Right Honorable Speaker, my comment is on the Electoral Commission, which according to the committee report is on page 7. The committee has recommended throwing out the proposal that is brought by the bill. And yet, it talks about, it gives reference to what is going on with the AU and other regional associations. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to note here that reading through the committee report, the body of the report, the arguments expressed in the report are very alien to the recommendations that are given thereon. I do not know who gave the recommendations and who wrote the body of the report. Right Honorable Speaker, I think these proposals were in good faith if we are going to return power to the people as provided for in the Constitution of Uganda. Madam Speaker, on the removal of army representatives in Parliament, I think it's about time that this is implemented. We have to look back at the reasons as to why, in the first place, we had the army represented in the House. And now we think the time is ripe for them to go back to who they are and to what they are supposed to do. We have to be progressive if we are going to be a true democracy. Madam Speaker, I would also like to comment on the recommendation on the proposal to introduce a panel of speakers. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank God for you. You are a very strong woman. You can sit on that chair for hours on end, for weeks and for months. We don't want to be inhuman in thinking that you do not get tired and you do not get exhausted. One time we almost lost you. We thank God for His mercy. We know that it is overworking that is causing some of these problems. Right Honorable Speaker, in jurisdictions where there are panels of speakers, the work is made lighter. And if this House wants to achieve more in terms of the work of this House, I think it is only prudent that we introduce a panel of speakers so that there is no time in the time of sitting of Parliament that we say we cannot sit because the Speaker is either unwell or engaged or indisposed or whatever the case may be. That the business of this House will always be attended to consistently and continuously. It's going to improve the output of this House. And therefore, I support the fact that we institute a panel of speakers so that the office of the Speaker is well supported. And we do not we exhaust whoever will be in the chair of the Speaker. I want to pray, I know that you will not have my vote, but I want to pray that you will be in that chair and that God will give you the grace to go on. But we need this panel of speakers established. Right Honorable Speaker, lastly, my comment is on the recommendation of the committee as regards term limits. Madam Speaker, I want to support this strongly, and I'm glad that the larger part of the House and the society and Uganda at large supports the fact that we reintroduce term limits in the Constitution of this country. Right Honorable Speaker, as regards the increase of the term of Parliament, it's unfortunate that yesterday as I listened, the chair tried to deviate us from what is actually on the report. On page 28 of the report, Roman number 2, the committee says and recommends that term limits be reinstated as it is in the Constitution. But on the same page, Roman number 3, the committee also says government should consider thinking about introducing 7-year term for Parliament. I think this is an attempt to confuse this House. This is assuming that probably we may not see it or read it. Right Honorable Speaker, I don't see the relationship of the spirit of the report of the committee with the recommendations that they bring forth. I want to state here that the extension of the term of Parliament from 5 to 7 years is uncalled for. Already we have tested what will I say? We have tested the fact that long stay in power is causing a lot of disgruntlement in the country. Much as we are talking about regular elections, I don't want us to bury our head in the sand and pretend that we are having free and fair elections. And going forward, the experience of this last election can only show you that the next elections are going to be more bloody. I think we will serve this country better if we are going to be open and objective and sincere to ourselves. Let this term remain 5 years. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nambeshe. Nambeshe, then Centenary, Jonathan Odur. Then I have to come back this side as well.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me add my voice to that of colleagues to salute the committee for the report, and particularly on restoration of term limits, the 5-year presidential term limits. Madam Speaker, term limits are very important for strengthening democratic institutions and for the democratic process, but more importantly, for political transition. A country, for instance, like Uganda, which has never witnessed a smooth, peaceful transfer of power from one president to another, would yearn most to see a smooth, peaceful political transition. However, term limits also help to mount pressure on a given president or leader to ensure that he delivers results in the duration of time stipulated, so that he leaves a legacy behind. Individuals or leaders, no matter how powerful or how popular they may be, they cannot be indispensable because of term limits. Even a very popular man we have read about in history, Washington, in 1951, had to relinquish the chair even when he would have won many more terms. And that's why they are a superior democracy and a model for the rest of the world. So term limits will help to promote healthy competition, which is needed to strengthen our democratic institutions and for democratic governance. Madam Speaker, on the removal of UPDF representatives from Parliament, I support that proposal which was moved in the bill by the sponsor of the bill. But when I go through the report, Madam Speaker, and I would want to read it, the recommendation by the committee on retention of army representatives in Parliament, Bold 1, 2, 3. Recommendation 3, that the committee recommends that in recognition of their cardinal duty as listening posts, and to ensure that any army representative do not participate in the political arena, taking sides in any matter before Parliament, as well as shielding army representatives from partisan politics. Army representatives should be ex officio members. Madam Speaker, I've gone through all manner of laws that are on our statute books, and there is no formal document anywhere where it outlines the cardinal duty of these members of Parliament, the UPDF in Parliament, as listening posts. The cardinal duty, the cardinal role, I don't know where they have smuggled as a committee. I'm baffled about this, because that their cardinal role here in the House are listening posts, Madam Speaker. I'm astounded, and I would like to wonder whether we do not have provision in Parliament, even if we were to go through our rules of procedure of this House, Madam Speaker, they generally provide or apply to all of us. There are no specific provisions in our rules of procedure which specifically address special interest groups like UPDF in this House, and that they are directly addressed to them. Madam Speaker, if it is true that the cardinal rule of UPDF in this House is that of being listening gadgets, I mean listening posts, then that could easily be covered if they would be, because the provision in this House, there is a gallery, public gallery. They would only come in the public gallery and execute that role perfectly by listening from the gallery. Number two, we have a record. This is a house of records, Madam Speaker. We have a Hansard, which they can read. I know most of these Amazonos are highly educated. A number of them are learned, and I suppose they can read the Hansard. And three, committees provide for some of this to openly, if you are interested, to go to those committees and listen. But it shouldn't be that the committee should import or smuggle or even sanction a role that is the cardinal role among the roles of a member. Madam Speaker, among the roles of a member of Parliament, I've never come across this one, because I know representation, I know appropriation, oversight, and legislation. So the committee must be put to task to explain to this House in detail where they smuggled this new role of a member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, the constituency of members of Parliament, UPDF, colleagues, is known. They are elected by a given constituency of fellow men and women in uniform. Unless, if the committee is again recommending here that they should be ex-official members like MPs who are appointees of the president, unless they are recommending that the president now should be the one to appoint, specifically because he nominates about a third of them, and then they are subjected to an election by members of the military council. And here the committee presupposes that it should be also treated like ministers who are appointed outside Parliament to be ex-officials. These ones should be subjected to the same treatment that other interest groups that go through elections of their colleges, like that of the youth, the workers, name it, Madam Speaker. So the presence, Madam Speaker, the continued presence of UPDF in this temple of democracy in a multi-party parliament contravenes even Article 208 of our Constitution, which provides that the members in uniform, UPDF, should never ever participate in partisan politics. So in a multi-party parliament like ours, they cannot avoid, they say they are merely listening posts, but I've witnessed a number of them speaking here, Madam Speaker. And you remember vividly that in 2005, when two of them, Colonel Bogere and the then Brigadier Henry Tumukunde, they spoke. And when they spoke, incidentally, it did not go well, it did not go down well with the powers that be. And they were punished by being removed from Parliament. So indeed, they are not supposed to speak. Moreover, Madam Speaker, Parliament comes from the other word, I think is a French word, parler, which means to speak. But now that these are a special category of colleagues who have zips on their mouths, Madam Speaker, they should be removed. That should be justification enough to have them removed. from this house. Madam Speaker, on the issue of deputy president versus vice president, the committee has actually maltreated the proposal that was made by the Honorable Nwagaba in his bill. It was not merely about a proposal merely to change nomenclature. What it means here is the security, the enjoyment of that security of tenure. Madam Speaker, if you were to compare...
No, let's go to Centenary. Let's go to Honorable Centenary. 3 minutes. Or Centenary, then Odur Jonathan, then Ogwar, Celia. Here. I'm coming.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Just like I've always said, you'll miss my vote. If I had come back, surely my vote would have been yours. But going back to these amendments, and starting from Honorable Nambeshe where I stopped, the UPDF is supposed to defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Uganda and the constitution that encapsulates people's sovereignty through popular will. I do not see them execute this mandate in this august house. They can do it elsewhere, but not in this house. And we are going to find ourselves in a precarious situation where we are over-empowering the UPDF. I witnessed this during the recently concluded election, where troops of UPDF soldiers in uniform were being dumped at various polling stations to go and execute a civic mandate on behalf of the people, the citizens from a different constituency, where they did not even understand which candidates they were even going to vote for, but they were coming with a specific instruction to go and vote for the bus. And these are the people who are coming to first of all choose for us our leaders in the various constituencies, but also come here to Parliament through their electoral college representation to come and also represent, meaning that we are going to find ourselves giving a numerical strength to one force. I am foreseeing a situation where they are going to retire so many generals to come and start competing in the constituencies and also in the electoral college of UPDF, and we shall end up having an army council representing Ugandans here. I therefore disagree with the continuous representation of the UPDF in this parliament because we are representing them enough. The second aspect I would like to talk about, and after all, even when they are representing, majority of the problems that the UPDF officers are facing are being faced by lower ranking officers. But when they are sending representative here, they are sending people like Elwelu, who is a general, he's well paid, well facilitated. He's not going to represent that private soldier, the plight of that private soldier. Yeah, they have different interests completely. Madam Speaker, on the extension of the term limits, I think we should be honest to Ugandans. Every one of us, when we are going to seek for re-election, or even those who are seeking for new mandate, it was clearly marked out on our posters that we are contesting for a period 2021-2026. That's a social contract that we made with Ugandans. It would be so unfortunate for us to turn around and be duped by the report as it states that those who will have passed this bill or law will not be the ones to benefit from it, meaning that for us we should do the dirty work of the 11th Parliament, we pass it, and then they come and enjoy the 7 years, and we go back to the population and be bashed for having connived against the population, even ourselves who never made it back, to extend the term of office from 5 to 7. I know there are democracies which are even more advanced than ourselves, like the US. Their term of office is only 4 years, and they've been able to deliver the services as expected effectively. The RDCs, actually, for me, I don't even understand why that position was created, other than being an extension of the district NRM office, because I have witnessed in my own district where the grievances within the political party of NRM are being resolved by the RDC. I think the political activities, if it is not possible to remove that office, the political activities of the RDC's offices should be restricted and regulated. 2, the qualifications should be set. We have RDCs who don't even know how to write their names. And these are people who are coming to supervise chief administrative officers who have masters, PhDs, and all sorts of qualification. And I think they should also apply competitively to become RDC if we need to maintain that office, because they are public officers being facilitated from public coffers. About the ministers, I think the spirit of separation of powers is only being abused between the executive and parliament, the legislature. I have not seen judges being appointed as ex-officials in parliament. If we want to promote democratic governance in this country, we should emphasize the spirit of separation of powers. If you are becoming a member of parliament, legislate. If you want to be in the executive, stay in the executive. And if you want to remain in the judiciary, remain in the judiciary. The unemployment rate in Uganda is so high to the fact that you cannot even afford to fuse powers into one person. If Honorable Centenary is a member of parliament, let Nandala become a minister, so that all of us are able to participate in the governance of this nation. Otherwise, many of our legislators here, especially now those that are coming in, are going to be compromised with the hope that they will be appointed minister, given cabinet positions. And therefore, they will find themselves in a situation where they have to bear 2 allegiances between the electorate that brought them here to come and represent them and the executive or the president that appointed them. So I agree with the minority report that we need to separate powers. You either choose to become a minister or choose to become a member of parliament. On the Electoral Commission, we have suffered at the hands of the Electoral Commission, most especially this current one of Justice Byabakama, where they issue directives and they are not even sure how to execute those directives that they have issued in regard to the electoral processes. This is a disgrace and a shame to this country. I think it is high time that these commissioners go through a public veto process. They nominate them, bring them before the public, we scrutinize them from their character, their qualification, so that we have a people-centered electoral commission. Not an electoral commission that is supposed to go and prostrate before a presidential candidate who is the appointing authority. I think we are relinquishing, either by design through our laws and policies, the powers of the citizens of Uganda in the hands of the presidency. It is high time we started legislating in a way of pro-people, pro-centered policies. Our constitution has suffered enough. Actually, if it was mortal, it would have suffered from amendment fatigue. We need to give it time to rest and be preserved, as we saw here when we came in 2016, and uphold it. I don't see a reason why we should treat our constitution like a piece of cloth which needs to be tailored when and as somebody changes size. And in this regard, I'm talking about the sentiments of the powers that be. When they want to overstay in power, then they bring a proposal that we need to remove the constitution, the age limit, we need to remove the term limits. Then when they think they are comfortable, then we need to bring back the term limits. I think it's high time we sanctified our constitution because it is supposed to be the rule. It is actually the supreme law of the land. The moment we lose constitutional stability in this country, we do not expect to have the honors of a sovereign state as it ought to be. Uganda is supposed to be a sovereign state, which is supposed to be enjoyed by every one of us. I also want to be president, maybe one day. And there are many other young people who want to be presidents. When we were amending the constitution, the spirit of lowering the age limit was for inclusive leadership. And that's why they reduced the age limit to 18. Now, why don't we give an opportunity to other people to also participate? You have seen the fracas we are having right now in court, where petitions cannot be had, they are being withdrawn. Some judges are even threatening that if you don't believe that this court is going to deliver justice to you, go and create your own court. That level of arrogancy is being entrenched in our policies, and it is something we need to safeguard against. And this time round, when we restore the term limits, I would like to plead to this honorable house that we should entrench. This time we should entrench and ensure that whoever wants to remove the term limits at least should be done through a popular vote of a referendum. Otherwise, for those of you who are coming back, I think I would implore you that our sanctity is in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. If we want to retire dishonorably, we can allow these 7 years to pass, and then we shall see what is going to happen to us when we go back to the population. I beg to move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Odur, Ogwal, Okupa, Augan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to broadly speak about the methodology and the scope of the consultation that the committee did. And my submission is that if they had done it differently, they were going to arrive at very different conclusions regarding the proposals in the bill. This bill is well-intentioned, and I think that government, especially the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, should surely feel embarrassed that continually we are having private members come here to amend the sacred document of this country. And I want to point out that when the committee mentioned 3 areas, one, they cited Article 259, of course in tandem with Article 262. The reading of those articles are very clear that the provisions, articles of the Constitution that this Parliament can amend include nearly all the provisions that Honorable Neoga proposed. So when they reached in the middle of their report and they cited Article 78 and said that it cannot be amended, then I believe that this committee never paid attention at all to do thorough work on this bill. In 2017, when we had only 4 articles, clauses of the Constitution to amend, we consulted more than 60 stakeholders. And this one, where we now have more than 26 articles to be amended, the committee chose to consult only 7. So I want to invite members of Parliament to disregard the recommendations of the committee. Even this House is fully constituted because we are more than 400, meaning that our opinions will better the 7 members that the committee decided to consult. I will give you an example. The bill proposed to strengthen the Electoral Commission, to make it transparent in order to ensure that election and the results coming are acceptable to Ugandans. The committee blatantly went and said that it is not necessary. Even in their analysis, they cited African Charter on Democracy, they cited the African Union resolutions, they cited very good examples, but in concluding, they said there is no need to improve on the commission. That means that the committee just did this work without giving due consideration. I also saw that the committee rejected a very good proposal to have a person qualified to be a judge to chair the Electoral Commission. They are forgetting that the Electoral Commission is also clothed with powers to sit as a semi-judicial authority. When there are conflicts, it is referred to Electoral Commission, and to ensure that there is fairness, we need somebody who can adjudicate. It has been a practice in this house that where a body has tribunal powers, the chairperson of that body is a judge. So when I saw the recommendation from the committee ignoring that proposal by Honorable Nwagaba, I wondered. On the issue of the Army MPs, I want to agree with the submissions of my colleagues who have spoken here. I only want to add one thing. If the Army is here to listen to us, it is okay. Now, if they listen to us, where do they take those stories to? Why don't that person come here to listen? Why do they listen and they want to take it? Let them come here. Whoever wants to listen can come here. In fact, by saying the MPs, the Army MPs are listening post, you are amending Article 79, which gives the roles of MPs. Amongst the cardinal roles of MPs, the ones that we know here, there is nothing like listening post. So I would invite members that it's the right time for us to really, in a very sober manner, reflect on the Madam Speaker, it appears the timekeeper has... so let me just conclude by one point. It's the same for everybody. I want to conclude by the issue of term limits. Madam Speaker, President Obote was here from 1962 to 19 before Amin removed. He never. It was more than 7 years. He never concluded business of this country. Amin was here for more than 9 years. He never concluded. Nobody will conclude, and certainly the current president is here for 35, maybe now 40 years. He will never conclude. So we cannot borrow and adopt the reasoning of the committee that 5 years is not enough for one person to fulfill. Uganda is not about one person. If I cannot, another person will come and take over. So I urge members to support the restoration of term limits. Let it be 5, because the Odoki Commission recommended 5. When the members of the political parties came, all of them said 5. So I don't know where the issue of 7 years came from. I invite members to reject it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Ogwal, then Okupa, then Awogan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and members. Right Honorable Speaker, when I contribute on this subject matter of the constitutional amendment, I would like to implore the House, if you could give me an extra 30 seconds, I will be very appreciative, because we have very few remnants of the Constituent Assembly, and I'm here therefore to remind the members of a couple of things that we could have forgotten. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm just pleading for some 30 seconds or so. Right Honorable Speaker, whenever we talk about constitutional amendment, particularly matters of politics, we should be reminded of the preamble of our Constitution. Right Honorable Speaker, the preamble which was discussed and we all reserve as a people of Uganda is that we should first and foremost recall our history, which was characterized by political and constitutional instability. That was fundamental. 2, we also recognize the struggles against forces of tyranny, oppression, and exploitation. Therefore, we resolve as Constituent Assembly that the constitution we were to make should resolve to re-establish a system that would ensure stability, peace, unity in Uganda. Therefore, members, about some of the issues raised by the committee, and by the way, I want to thank Honorable Nwagaba for bringing this It has been an outstanding issue. It is important that we confront it head on. Right Honorable Speaker, I will just be very brief. First of all, on the reinstatement of term limits should not be a matter of discussion. This was resolved in the Constituent Assembly. And we Ugandans who follow political events, we know why it came to be removed. It was a very heavy weight by something called Kisanja. I don't understand the word Kisanja, but Kisanja became too forceful, too heavy, and moved the hands of Parliament to do the unthinkable. So it was removed. Now that wisdom has been restored, can we therefore resolve, without any discussion or question, to restore the term limit? Right Honorable Speaker, on the removal of the army, I think the same Constitution has told us that we should recognize we had a spirit which we carried with us. Although the other time when I talked about constitutional spirit, Honorable Nandala reminded me that we should not turn Parliament into witch doctors, because only witch doctors will talk in the language of spirits. But I think we see ahead, and therefore we provide for it. So, Right Honorable Speaker, term limits should go hand in hand with age limit. I believe by now the purpose for which the age limit was removed has now been resolved. So I would rather, if the committee does not mind, we move an amendment also to restore the age limit to 75 as it was, so it will start from next year. And as for me as a person, I want to tell you that by 2026 I would have already reached the age of 75, and I will not be a subject of any elective office. Right Honorable Speaker, I have to abide by the spirit of the Constitution. Right Honorable Speaker, the removal of the army is a very sticky matter, but it's also a constitutional matter. We have clearly defined the role of the army, which is non-partisan, and the army must be subordinate to the civilian authority. So when Parliament passes a resolution, whether on security or deployment of military in Somalia, the army must be subject to the authority of Parliament. That's the voice of Uganda speaking, and they can only obey and implement. That is what is enshrined in our Constitution under Article 208, in case somebody is doubting me, Right Honorable Speaker. Therefore, as far as I'm concerned, Right Honorable Speaker, we are putting the army in a very difficult situation. The moment in 2005 we adopted a bicameral parliament, we therefore decided that there must be a government side and opposition side. Now when you bring the army in, there are the laws. I remember during Oyito Jek time, Oyito Jek used to sit with the DP, but then his colleagues used to laugh at him. But who of our military person have you seen sitting with Honorable Beta Hall here? They are on side with the government, and that is against the spirit of the Constitution in Article 208. So we are making the life of the military we are bringing here difficult, Right Honorable. So just 30 seconds I ask for, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, on a very important matter, the issue of qualification of the electoral commissioners, you know very well, Right Honorable Speaker. History has taught us that sometimes a member loses election, then is appointed to be RDC to go back and work in the same district where he was defeated. We are not being fair to ourselves. And a person who was defeated in the election is appointed commissioner and is the one to supervise the election. Right Honorable Speaker, we are being unfair. We need to redefine the role of these commissioners and the RDC. For me, I believe we should stop using RDCs as a political tool or operatives. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, you yourself guided the House on the 29th of May last year on the issue of panel of speakers. This is a practice which is now all over East Africa. It is in Tanzania, it's in Kenya, and you know, Uganda is like a model. People learn from us. Right Honorable Speaker, what happened to you last year? It hit all of us. We came to realize two persons are not enough to steer the house. We need the Speaker's panel in order to ease the burden on the huge roles that the speakers have. I think that was a consensus, and it was already passed as a resolution. It's not a matter of debate. We just have to adopt our own resolution, which we passed in May 29th. For those who want to look at the answer, that there must be a panel of speakers, but I would want to add by saying the panel of speakers must carry again the spirit of our rules, which accommodates all the political shades. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Okupa, Aogon, Nandala. Then I go to Muyanja. No, I'll come back there. I need to go this side now, but I'll come back. We are coming. After here,
thank you,
Nandala,
thank you,
Muyanja, Nawedin, and then we move there. Hello to Babazi. Okay. Let's start with the big Muyanja, the one of Rengo.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I take this opportunity to submit on to comment on the report of the committee regarding the constitutional amendment. Right Honorable Speaker, let me start with the issue of the ministers, MPs being appointed ministers. My view is all the ministers should be members of parliament. The issue raised here of separation of powers, I think to me doesn't hold in the water. The 6th parliament, the 7th parliament was able to hold the executive accountable and censor ministers. Were they not members of parliament like us today? The problem is us, the members of parliament, who fail to hold the executive accountable. I had a meeting with the Speaker of Kenya and the President of the Senate of Kenya. You know, Kenya is going to have a referendum. They are reversing the appointment of the ministers, because currently in their 2007 constitution, they said all ministers must be from outside. And they have found themselves in a very difficult situation. They don't even appear in parliament. They don't attend parliament. They say there must be separation of powers. So there is no issue of prime minister's question, or who you questioning the prime minister, the vice president, or the minister. It can only appear in the committee, but not in the house. Ghana is on the way to reversing it, because it's one other country in Africa, in the Commonwealth, where the cabinet ministers come from out. So for us now, we want to go where people are living. So to me, I would still stand that the members of cabinet must be from the house. But because they will also be able to understand what challenges do members of parliament face in the constituencies. Imagine a situation where a member of the cabinet is not a member of parliament, he has not been a politician, he does not understand the challenges the politician, the members of parliament go through. When you go and raise the matter with such a member of the cabinet, he will not bother, he will not understand. So for me, I would insist, I would believe that all, in fact, all members of the cabinet should come from parliament. And the members of parliament, the committees of parliament, should be able to hold the executive accountable. Madam Speaker, yesterday I had some members talking about limiting bringing the issue of the term limits to also members of parliament or elected positions. I think we are mixing things up here. Why did I thought Honorable Cecilia Ogwalo would have educated us or reminded us, because she's one of the remnants of the CA, the reasons why there were term limits for the president and not members of parliament. Members of parliament do not have executive powers. They are not fountain of honor. They are not commander-in-chief. So that's why they brought the term limits for the president. Let us not mix members of parliament with the president. You don't have the same powers like the president. Do you have? So the issue of the term limit should only be limited to those who have excessive powers, such that we are able to check those excessive powers. On the panel of speakers, or the speakers panel, I think this is something which should have been done long time ago. I don't know why the executive finds it very difficult to accept this. And I hope and I pray that this time the members of parliament, of the 10th parliament, should be able to pass this, and let us see what happens. Because we have seen in the Commonwealth, in the IPU, Mr. Speaker, most of the countries have speakers panel. In Zambia, in Malawi, in South Africa, in Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, they all have. Why can't we have them? The issue of the cost does not arise here. After all, Honorable Nwagaba here secured certificate of financial implication.
Up next on UBC, brought to you by
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money, simple, secure, borderless.